Hello and welcome to another episode of Bucket List Adventures, and today it's a very simple question of what was my favourite trip. And well, there's a couple of bits really that I would always sit there and say climbing our first mountain was probably my favourite trip due to the fact that I made it up a mountain. But there's also the strange stories of us in Berlin as well, of walking around housing estates, trying out our German, which is near enough non-existent, apart from about 5 words, and exploring houses from the outside and looking at the housing estates, which is a strange one on the World Heritage Site list. There's not much in that sense there at those properties, just tower blocks all set up in a different method. But the trip I really truly remember is going up Scafell Pike. And this was, I believe, our first major trip away. Yeah, our first major trip that we did. And we had decided to go camping, so we'd got all our camping equipment together and we'd planned out this route. And it all started off quite normal, made our way up through. We had rail replacement service for a little bit. And then we got to Ravenglass. And here we were to come off the main railway lines and go on to a privately owned railway. What we didn't quite grasp at the time was that this privately owned railway was really a tourist attraction and was no wider than 2 people sat next to each other. So on this train going through to the campsite was all of these tourists heading up from a day trip in Ravenglass, going back to their campsites. We were on the last train for the day, and there was us on this train with our rucksacks, with our camping equipment and hiking equipment all in. Everybody else is there with their little day bags, chatting in their families. So we're at the back of the train on this, and we travel up through, and it's a pleasant little ride up through the valley. And we get to the campsite. We haven't actually made reservations at this campsite, we've just turned up. We walk around to the front where the reception sort of desk is, or the bloke on the front desk. He turns around to us and goes, "Where did you 2 come from?" "Oh, we got off the train." "Quick, get in here." So he marshals us into this barn that's next to him and closes the door behind us. And there's me and Joe looking at each other, says to say, we're in the middle of nowhere, and the local farmer has just pushed us into a barn and closed the door behind us. And about 5 minutes later, he came back in and said, "Sorry about that. I didn't want to let you be seen by the car drivers because I'm turning them away." He says, "Theoretically, we're full, but we keep a couple of sites back for hikers like yourselves. And I didn't want them to know that I'm still giving away pitches and making them drive on. But they can drive to another campsite. You can't easily walk to another campsite." So we pitched up our tent there for the night and went round to the local pub, had some food. And the night that we were there, the first night, there was a group of lads next to us, and they were having a few bevies and having a laugh and a drink more so than that. And we wanted to sleep because the next day we were going hiking. And we woke up the next morning, bright and early, and it was like, well, we're a little bit tired, we're a little bit groggy. It's been cold overnight because we actually didn't have proper sleeping bags at this point. But we decided to go for it. So we set off in the morning with pretty much high spirits, a little bit of tiredness from the night before of cold, damp environment. And the trip went pretty much as we expected it to be. We made good time. We got to our first point on the map where we sort of said, right, we're going to have a rest, a break, a hot drink. And from there, it seemed to be going well. We had come off the main path and we were going on to a smaller section of the path that we were going to cut up through via a nice waterfall that was marked on the map. And this is where our trip had got a little bit tricky. We started off heading along the route and the path was well marked. But then slowly the path became less and less pronounced, and soon enough there was no path left for us to walk along, and we were just sort of navigating via our map. The route itself was supposed to be there, but it was marked as a trail that went along the side and joined up with the main path up the top of the ridge. When we got close to the waterfall that was supposed to take us there, there was no path at all, and that section we actually had to scramble, climbing rock from rock as we went up the side of this waterfall, and occasionally in the waterfall. And we made it in the end to the top, and was relieved to see people again for the first time in about an hour and a half of us travelling up. When we decided to head back down, we were going to go the other route. So we came up one side, was going to go down the other side and meet back up at the bottom. And we started following the path down. And after about half an hour, 40 minutes, we suddenly thought, hang on a minute, we're going in the wrong direction. And we're looking around and we can't see the path that tails off back down towards our campsite. And it's like, right, we'll just carry on. We've got to find the path that heads back down. And we get down, right the way down to the bottom, and we suddenly realise that we're at Lake Windermere. Wasp Water, on the complete other side of the mountain to where we wanted to be. And it's like, oh, sugar. We're about 5 miles away from where we want to be. And that's with a mountain in the middle of it. So we rang round to see if we could just find a taxi just to take us back to the campsite, because we were knackered. Taxis were already fully taken because there was a local event going on, so we had to walk it. And we started off across the moorland and worked out a route that was over flat open ground. And we got back to the campsite about 7:30 in the evening after setting off at about 8 o'clock in the morning. We were tired, we were hungry. So we dropped our bags off quickly at the tent and made our way straight round to the local pub. We got there probably something like 5 to 8. And we just asked the bar staff, are you still serving food? And he said, we're about to shut the kitchen. And I was like, right, message to the chef, whatever's easiest for him then. And it came back of, yeah, we can do a couple of quick, easy meals, that's no problem. So we managed to get food within about 5 minutes of getting there. And that was greatly appreciated. The rest of the trip was pretty uneventful, but the fact that we were being pushed into a barn to be hidden from anybody else was an amusing sight.
Yeah, one thing I want to add to this is when we finally did, we're getting towards the top, such a relief.
Anyway, I think that's probably enough of me yapping. Hopefully next year we are going to be doing a longer trip again. We've got some ideas penned out, and it's how much time we can commit. So hopefully you'll see some more of our adventures. So if you enjoyed the tale and you have enjoyed some of the other videos that we've done, please remember to like, comment and subscribe.